Hey, Gloria, how are you? Hey, Gloria, how are you? I'm sorry, what's that? Hey, Grant, how are you doing?
Hey Dennis, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I've got your letter. I don't know who to put in the header or whatever, who it's to. And do you want me to just mail it to you or email it and you'll print it out? How do we do that?
If you email it to me, that's perfect.
Okay. Because I
And
don't have the name and address of who it's going to, but I've written it and I'll email it to you and you can and I'll sign it if you want to print it out or whatever.
that'd be perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Is it just like a little help with costs? Is that what it basically is?
Yeah, so it's just like a scholarship I've applied, gonna
Gotcha.
apply to.
I didn't know
Yeah,
it was a program that you were going to get involved with also some sort of education or whatever. Okay, great.
yeah, no, I really appreciate
Yeah, man. I appreciate you.
it.
So okay, I think I got you as co-host, Grant. Double check.
I am. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Chris, how are you today? Hey, Chris.
Hi, Dennis.
How you doing today? All right.
I am doing okay. I'm
All right.
juggling stuff, trying to get. I need to get a couple more pop shop shows scheduled.
Yeah, and maybe some other platforms too that I've been working on that will also help you. So to be disclosed soon.
Okay.
um,
I
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's fine.
One thing I wanted to ask you about was your choice of Shippo as your fulfillment. Did you like look at a bunch of them and figure that one out, or how did you arrive at Shippo? I'm just curious.
I probably chose Shippo based on what I heard other people using at the time.
Okay.
And at the time, Shopify, their Shippo was cheaper than what Shopify was offering.
Uh-huh.
And, Shopify continues to add features. And now I think Shopify's prices are the same as Shippo.
Okay.
One reason we didn't switch a while ago when I realized that was that we could print off a manifest from Shippo and not Shopify, which, if we're shipping a lot of things, the post office likes one thing to scan rather than a bunch.
Of course.
But I think now you can print off a manifest through Shopify.
Yeah.
And I continue to keep it separate so it's clear for bookkeeping purposes what is a shipping cost, because any shipping that we do through Shopify gets tumbled in with like any apps we're paying for and our regular monthly thing, which is hard for my bookkeeper to
Yeah.
separate out. So yeah, we continue to use Shippo. I've been really happy with it. We just use the free version. I know a lot of people use, I think, Pirate Ship. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
yeah, they
just
have it
understand all
seems
that.
to have the features we need.
Okay. One of the things, and I don't mean to hold everyone, but you may find this conversation helpful anyway. One of the groups that I have been kind of working with is, I don't know if that's a polite way to say it, but I've been working with the oyster people, oyster fishermen, and there's about 50 of them at this point. Most of them are, one or two people going out in their Carolina skiff or whatever it's called and checking their traps and that kind of thing. And I'm trying to figure out a way to help them logistically, because for them to sell directly to consumers, they perceive that as impossible because of where they're located. Like they're located in really small areas far away from centers. And so the knee jerk that these guys talk about is how difficult it is to ship oysters, which, obviously fresh and all that kind of stuff. So I've been just trying to look at what kind of logistics platform might be available to them. And so I'm just starting to kind of look at that. And I noticed that you use Shippo, and I am familiar with Shopify, and there's actually several of them in this space. But as always, when I run across something, just because it's popular somewhere else doesn't mean it's doable in rural North Carolina for whatever reason. So, that's just something I'm working on. And I'd like to, one of the groups I've been chatting with a little bit is Walmart has a new unit. It's called Go Local, and it's a delivery service for local merchants. So I'm trying to figure out if that's an option for all of you to use that system. I don't know the ins and outs of it. And, I don't believe anybody we have at this point is selling on Walmart.com, which is an option, just like Amazon or any other market. But they're supposedly going to create the ability for small merchants to use their local Walmart as a logistics operation, not just for products that you sell on Walmart, but also for your other products. So I'll find out. I think it's called Walmart Go Local, and I'm in touch with their management team, and it's a big organization, so it'll probably be a big cluster until we get it all straight. But at any rate, I am looking at that because one of the things that I see is in other parts of the country, for example, oysters and seafood are actually really big businesses online. There's one in the Bay Area of San Francisco called Hog Island Oysters, and there's one in, I think they're in Rhode Island. I'm not 100% sure, but these guys have giant operations, and they are somehow figured out how to ship all this stuff safely. So it'd be nice if our seafood people could do the same thing. Right now, I don't think, maybe one or two. I'm not sure if any of them have built any direct-to-consumer capability at all. And most of it is just, they just are overwhelmed. They're barely, making it with their farming of the oysters or whatever. So anyway, that's what that's all about. So that's enough about that, right? So let's, I'm going to do a couple things today. One is kind of unexpected because of an email that I got that I want to kind of share with the group, and that won't take long. And then we'll start into EQ for entrepreneurs, which is really about emotional intelligence and the ability to really improve your ability to deal with customers, employees, all of the above. It's kind of an area that not a lot of time is spent on. It just so happens that my best friend growing up, who actually just recently passed away, was one of the world's leaders in this space. So I have been exposed to it for a very long time. He actually had a company that did this for companies like Merck and Toyota and all kinds of, he had 400 clients worldwide, and it was mostly focused on emotional intelligence and emotional IQ and that kind of stuff. So that's why I have some awareness of it. So anyway, I'm going to start off sharing my screen, and it's going to be about this email. We won't spend a lot of time on that. Let's see here. Hold shift. Okay. All right. Okay. So can everyone kind of see my email here? Hopefully.
Yep.
Okay. So you might remember from the conversation with Andy Kurtz. He talked about one of his clients, which happens to be this Whitley's Peanut Factory, which I believe is just outside of Norfolk, kind of on the North Carolina line. I'm not 100% sure, somewhere around in there. And they had been kind of a traditional, I guess, if you can say that, peanut company, and much like many that are around North Carolina and so forth. But they did go through a branding and packaging, whatever, with Andy, whatever he calls it. Okay. So, I signed up for their emails, and so this one came in this morning, and this is the first time I've seen anything like this from them. But it really caught my eye, and I'll tell you why. So first of all, the email itself, the header is exactly like the website, right? It's the same stuff, right? All the links and the phone number and whatever. And then they're announcing it, and this is not really imaginative social media sweepstakes, not super creative, but it is what it is. And they're doing some kind of promotion, a sweepstakes, because it's apparently National Peanut Month. Who knew, right? So March is National Peanut Month. So they have created a giveaway or sweepstakes. And I think of sweepstakes as one of the best customer acquisition, or certainly prospect acquisition, that you can do. It's a proven model over many, many years, and it's been proven both in physical stores and almost every kind of channel you can imagine. Somebody has figured out how to generate lots of new customers and new prospects through sweepstakes. So a couple of things here. Notice the peanut guy, right? And it's interesting to me because this peanut guy does not appear on any of their packaging on their website. I'm not quite sure what that is, but it is eye-catching in my view. But he doesn't have a name. He's not, whatever, Whitley the Peanut. He's just on there. But if you look at the design, the product is featured heavily. There's lots of big graphics and simple instructions. Click here for details, etc. And then below that is sign up for text messaging. I don't know if any of you all are using text messaging in addition to email, but that's currently hot, I guess, in many areas. And then it has more information about their physical locations, and they offer free standard shipping, et cetera, et cetera. But so this is an email. They did not pay for the upgraded Constant Contact because they have the logo. So it's probably the free version or the really low cost version of Constant Contact, if you're familiar with that. I think that's a mistake. Personally, I would get rid of that. It's just clashing with what you're trying to do. It can't be that much. But one of the problems with sweepstakes historically, from a technical perspective, was the sign up form, right? Like what is your sign up form? You promote this and they click, and then what, right? And traditionally, this is really called a landing page or whatever. So let's take a look at their landing page and notice no purchase necessary to enter, which is actually the law in all 50 states. You can't charge people to enter a sweepstakes. Otherwise it's gambling or something. I'm not sure. So what I really liked about this, so first of all, they do have this pop-up that comes up. I assume many of you use this, to get more signups. It's a pretty simple form on almost every platform. But what I found interesting about this, compared to what I normally am used to, this is so simple. I mean, I would argue it's not. I don't know if people are really going to read all this small text. Personally, I think it's a little much, but I don't know. But in it, they have everything that you need to know about this promotion, including how you enter, right? So you enter by clicking on their Facebook, their Instagram, and then they got another page for the full rules. This is not hard stuff, right? This is pretty easy as far as capturing who it is that is doing this. So I was really surprised at how simple this was. And I think any of you could do this probably better, because I personally think it's way too much text and not necessarily. I bet they have a lot of drop off this landing page would be my guess. But anyway, I thought that was really cool. And then they got their sign up. So this is just a page on their website, and it's their sweepstakes and their various ways that you can enter it and learn about it. So it's the first one I've seen that I would consider any small business could do this. This does not require sophisticated development or programming. You actually can I believe there are services out there that you can build a landing page which might be more what you're used to seeing, a little more graphic or whatever. But nonetheless, this is incredibly low cost to do, right? From a perspective of what can I do to attract new customers. So I just wanted to show you all this. Let's see what happens when we go to their Facebook, just for the fun of it. Okay. Now, I'm not 100% sure how they are. I guess if I like this, I guess I've entered the sweepstake. I don't know. I haven't really dug into that. And I may call Andy and say, what's going on here? Here's a posting from 2 hours ago, shows you how to enter, become a follower on Facebook or Instagram, blah, 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 tells you what to do, comment on the post, tag a friend, all this kind of stuff. So you can see all this on Whitley's Peanuts Facebook page or whitleyspeanut.com. But I just thought it was really, really well done and really, really inexpensive process to do a sweepstakes. And the other thing about this is, and I don't know how much you all use things like Facebook or Instagram for this kind of thing, but you can also do this in Facebook groups, right? Like dedicated groups that they might have out there, that you could maybe even do different sweepstakes, depending how crazy you want to go, different sweepstakes for different verticals, different graphics, different members of different kinds of groups. If it could be one for military people, it could be one for, residents of Norfolk or whatever. There's so many groups out there. But this tool is really effective. I'll just tell a quick story. I launched a website selling basically computer related parts, and you're not going to believe this, but in 1996, so a long time ago. And, we didn't have that much money. It actually cost over $1 million to have the e-commerce site built at that time, which is insane. And it never worked right. It always was buggy. But we did an IBM ThinkPad giveaway as kind of a sweepstakes. And 100,000 people signed up for the sweepstakes in about a week. And, back in 97 or something like that. So I personally have never participated in any kind of concept that draws more than this sort of thing. And the holdback has generally been getting an agency to design the landing page and the process of entering the sweepstakes. It was always very complex. So it wasn't something you could do. But with this kind of thing, I think any of you all could do this really easily. So any feedback or thoughts?
I do see a lot of those types of things on Instagram with other businesses that I know locally. Just you have to like, you have to share, you have to comment.
Yeah.
And those are the big things. So that, on Instagram, that's super easy to do. I don't know how they manage, picking and seeing who actually did all of those things.
Yeah, I'm assuming they have some kind of ad campaign going with Facebook or Instagram. That's my guess. I'll find out. Let's look at their Instagram version. Okay. So here's their Instagram version. Same sort of thing, almost identical to what's on Facebook. So I will find out the kind of ins and outs from this if Andy knows, and so forth. But this only came out 2 hours ago. They got quite a few people. Well, it's the same person, Miss Moneypenny, whoever the hell that is, probably the owner. But anyway, I will try to find out the fulfillment side of it. My guess is it's on the advertising dashboard or whatever would be my guess if I had to guess.
And that could be correct, but like the local businesses I know that are doing this, I know they're not doing it as a paid thing. Like they're not paying to advertise that post or promote it. So you could even do it without paying, I think.
Okay. I'm just not that familiar with, with any of this. I just haven't done ad campaigns or whatever on Facebook or Instagram. So I'm sure it can be figured out. No problem. One thing that's interesting here, you see where it says sprout.link Whitley Peanuts. Sprout is a social media posting tool. So it could be that there's a tracking mechanism in that. I use one called Buffer, which I've talked about before, Buffer. I use the free version of that to do my social media posting, but I'll bet you Sprout or any of those kinds of guys, they probably have tools to measure this, because that is really blatantly a link to something other than their website. I mean, that's a plain call out. So I think that's a little indicative of how they might be doing it. The other thing, while we're on the subject, and I'm going to go off this subject in a second here, is and really Chris brings up a really cool point. This would be a fun thing to do with partners, right? It could be fun to do multiple products. It could be even like on a basket or an assembly, some sort of unit that includes stuff from several of you, and you share that data, right? That's a really cool way to really, particularly if you're non-competitive, with the others, putting together a little cartel to do this would be smart, I think, far as local or even statewide. I think you could leverage that their awareness, and it helps them as well. Any more thoughts before we move on from this? Okay. All right. So today we're going to go through part of the EQ for entrepreneurs. It'll be today and tomorrow. And so rather than blab about it, I'm going to let them describe it, because this is pretty awesome, I guess, I think.
What we're talking about today is emotional intelligence, or EQ, and the role it plays in your success as a founder. Research suggests that EQ may be twice or even 4 times as important as intelligence in your success. The definition of EQ is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, and recognize, understand, and influence the emotions of everyone around you. As a leader, you want to manage what you say and what you do. You've got to know what you're feeling, because your thoughts are driving your feelings and your actions. The majority of people don't know what their strengths and weaknesses are, and don't know how their words and their behavior affect other people. So the fact is, there's a lot happening in our brains that we don't know. Fear can be a great driver. The most powerful leaders are those who acknowledge and embrace their fear and then turn it into an asset.
Okay. She is awesome. She's really good. Okay. Here's the part 1. Is this full screen on your alls?
About 75%.
Good morning, everybody.
Okay, great.
I'm Anna. I'm the managing director of Techstars LA, and I'm also an executive coach. And what we're talking about today is emotional intelligence, or EQ, and the role it plays in your success as a founder. EQ, which is sometimes referred to as emotional intelligence, emotional quotient, I'm going to use those two interchangeably, is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, and recognize, understand, and influence the emotions of everyone around you. So research suggests that EQ may be twice or even 4 times as important as intelligence, or IQ, as hard skills in your success. In the startup community, and in particular in the tech world, we place like an inordinate value on hard skills and kind of what you know and where you went to school and what your role is. But the fact is the soft skills are probably harder to train and even more important in your overall success than the hard skills. But they're difficult to pin down and identify and find ways to develop. So that's what we're going to focus on today, is actually identifying what those soft skills are and then how you can build them. I actually do believe that emotional intelligence is something that you can practice. I also believe that we're never actually done practicing, so we're constantly, working on it. Let's look at some different tools. What we're going to cover in this is self-awareness, first of all, which is the cornerstone of everything. You can't work on it until you're aware of it. How to be present, how to use presence to pay attention to what's happening around you, how to recognize and manage fear, what flexible thinking is and how to use it as a tool to grow your company, Then we're going to take these skills and we're going to apply them where all the problems show up, which is other people. Because, we don't have problems. We only have problems in relation to other people. So we're going to look at feedback, how to get it, how to give it, and why this is important, and then spend a little time talking about coaching and how to coach yourself and how to coach your team around you to help them grow. I believe that personal growth drives company growth. So the more you can develop these skills and the more you can be a great coach for your team, the more effective and productive you're all going to be. So what exactly is EQ? The definition of EQ is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your emotions, and recognize, understand, and influence the emotions of others. In practical terms, this means being aware that emotions drive behavior and impact people both positively and negatively. And learning how to manage them, both ourselves and others, is key, especially when we're under pressure, as we often are. So we can look at EQ in 4 quadrants. And this was developed by Daniel Goleman and based on a lot of psychology research at the university level. So first we've got self-awareness, which is really where it all begins. This is the ability to understand your own strengths and weaknesses, to understand what your core values are. What do you care about? What really drives you? You'd be amazed how few people actually know what it is that motivates them. What's your why? And then what are the things that set you off? What are your triggers that get you into the emotional part of your brain so that you can't think as clearly? Being self-aware means understanding all of this. Then we move to self-management, which includes being able to stay calm and positive in a crisis and being able to recognize and detach from feelings rather than letting them drive your behavior. Good self-management allows us to focus under pressure and be adaptable, to be in a state of continuous improvement and to set high goals and reach for them. So now that we've got ourselves kind of all under control, we move to social awareness, which starts with empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of someone else. This applies both with your team, but also with your customers. The next level of social awareness is being able to read a room. So when you walk in, you can understand the dynamics and you can see how people are relating to each other, which is going to help you communicate better. It doesn't take a huge leap to understand how this is going to help you sell more and also help you raise money. Then in the last quadrant, we have the ninja level EQ skills, the social skills, which includes everything from being able to give and accept feedback well, to being able to build and inspire trust, to use your understanding of someone else's perspective to influence them, and then the ability to be an inspiring leader, which is something that we all want. Many investors, myself included, ask questions around EQ before making an investment. So the core thing I look at when I'm looking at a CEO, is this someone that I would work for? Is this someone that I believe that I could follow as a leader? And that really goes directly to EQ. What I'm saying is this a person with high EQ who I believe has the ability to be an inspirational leader? So that's pretty deep, because you may walk into a pitch meeting and think, wow, what they care about is how good is my idea and how good's my plan and how good my slides are, when the person sitting across the table from you is really looking at, is this someone I could follow? So making an investment in EQ and really thinking about it is going to just make you, such a more impactful leader and make those meetings go so much better. I think EQ is it's a little bit like good taste. Everyone thinks they have it. Everyone thinks they have good taste. Everyone thinks they have high EQ, but that can't really possibly be true, right? So in practical terms, the truth is, for good or bad, that all of this stuff is related. There is no such thing as a decision that is devoid of feeling. As a leader, you want to manage what you say and what you do. You've got to know what you're feeling, because your thoughts are driving your feelings and your actions. Your feelings are determining your thoughts and what you do. And believe it or not, your actions, what you do, actually influences your thoughts and your feelings. So the idea that you could kind of take emotion out of the equation, as some of us would like to do, and just be completely data-driven, it's just absolutely not realistic. Ignoring your feelings in all of this is just never going to work. So we have to understand how the 3 things work together. What we're really trying to do when we build EQ is get our 2 brains to work together. We have our feeling brain, which is wired unconsciously to keep us safe. And a lot of the actions we take are driven by impulses that are just really deep and that we may not even fully understand. So as a leader, you want to become fluent in EQ so you can use all these tools to build better teams, to build better companies, to have a greater impact on your customers and everyone around you. And there's like a huge additional bonus from understanding and investing in EQ, which is that your friends and family and probably even your dog are going to like you better.
Nothing wrong with having your dog like you better, I always say.
So let's dive right into self-awareness. How many people think that they have high self-awareness? I'm expecting everyone's hands to go on. Come on. Okay. According to Harvard Business Review, 95% of us report having high self-awareness, but actually only 10 to 15% do. So that means the majority of people don't know what their strengths and weaknesses are and don't know, how their words and their behavior affect other people. Like, wow, that feels like a really big problem to me. So if you're the majority of people who think you're self-aware but actually aren't, like that's a massive problem for not only you, but for your company, because especially at the beginning, you are your company. So let's look at, a really, really extreme example of someone who's not self-aware. And I just like to stop and note that, I think a lot of us have become aware that we're not self-aware recently because there's a lot of people that have taken these unconscious bias tests online. We all think, oh, I don't have unconscious bias. I'm completely not biased against anyone. And then we take the unconscious bias test and it shows that we are. So the fact is there's a lot happening in our brains that we don't know. But let's look at an extreme example here. So, someone who's not self-aware cannot accept feedback, don't know what they're good at, don't know what they're bad at, don't know what triggers them, so aren't able to identify when they get into an emotionally triggered state. They might actually have an inflated sense of their own performance, tend to take credit for, does anyone know anyone like this? Tend to take credit for other people's achievements and blame others when things don't work out. And finally, they may even hurt other people without realizing it. I'm sure we've all worked for someone who isn't self-aware. And it's an incredibly painful thing especially when you're in a reporting position with someone who lacks self-awareness. It's just almost unbearable. So now let's look at someone who has high self-awareness. Someone with high self-awareness understands what they're feeling and why. They know their own strengths and weaknesses. They know what drives them and what they care about and what their values are, which, by the way, also informs the company's values and helps them bring in people that share those values. Because they know who they are, they can present themselves with confidence, but also humility, and then make better decisions quickly and even in uncertain situations. So early on in life, this might not matter so much. We've all seen people who lack self-awareness who are high achievers in school. So when you're in school, the rules are clear, the guardrails are clear. You know what you need to do to get an A in this class or that class. The teachers aren't really looking for self-awareness. They're looking for, material that you've handed in on a test. It's very transactional. When you get out into the real world, right, and in particular when we're trying to build companies, and how you affect other people, your ability to inspire people to come follow you and work for you, your ability to convince people to buy your product, all of those skills that relate to EQ become so much more important. And that's when the difference between people that have high self-awareness and those that don't really, really starts to ramp up. So we're going to go over a quick way to get started building your own self-awareness. So the first step is getting a baseline, what do you know about yourself? So this is a pretty easy exercise. You're going to write down four lists of 5 things each. When asked to describe ourselves, we normally focus on the external stuff, kind of back to the hard skills. So we talk, who are you as a person? You might think, oh, well, I went to this school and, this is my job title and this is where I grew up and these are the things I know about. We tend to talk about things that are external, but what I'm talking about is our inner self, not our external self, which is a lot harder sometimes for us to identify. So you're going to write down your strengths, improvement areas, your core values, and the things that trigger you. Once you've got your list, you don't want to necessarily post it on your social media, but you might want to share it with someone that knows you really well and get their reaction. What is on your list that they didn't expect, and what is missing from your list that they think should be there? And that can be really informative. So I'd like to just spend a minute on personality assessments, because sometimes when people think self-awareness, they think, oh, I should go take the Myers-Briggs, or I should take the DISC, or the Enneagram, or the Strengths Finder. I've taken all of these, by the way. So I think they're really useful, but they're kind of just one piece. An assessment on its own doesn't create self-awareness. It's just a tool in kind of pointing out blind spots, things you don't know about yourself, or just giving you just kind of another perspective or a set of vocabulary to talk about, who you are. So to illustrate this, I will throw up some of my results and talk about how these sort of inform or relate to my own self-awareness and self-assessment. So think about these things as preferences or tendencies rather than fixed qualities. And that's really, really helpful, because then it sort of gets you out of this idea of this is how I am to this is what I prefer, right? This is what I prefer. And then I can kind of correct for that. So I prefer extroversion, right? Which means maybe sometimes I actually need to build my inner introvert up. I am very high level, strategic. That's what strategic, intuitive is, so I like to stay on the top and think in frameworks, right? So sometimes I can need to spend a little more time like working on the details and building up from the bottom. Judging, dominance, input, activator. I have a super strong preference for making decisions. I like to be in charge, right? That also means on the flip side, I have trouble with followership. In any event, these can be very useful. They are one piece of the puzzle, but they're kind of not the beginning and the end. So here's what it looked like when I did this full exercise on kind of strengths and growth and values and triggers. It's a little scary for me to put this up here because I'm like, wow, I'm telling you an awful lot about myself. But, self-awareness and opening that door is a little scary. It's like, what if I discover I'm not perfect, right? So guess what? You're not. None of us are. But the more you get to know yourself, there's real power here. There's real learning and growth. And, the better you're going to be in every area of your life. So we can think about all this information about yourself in kind of 4 different boxes. So the first one is your open self, the things that are known to you that are known to others. And then you have the hidden self, which is you know it about you, but maybe other people don't know, right? So with a hidden self, what you want to actually try to do is make that box as small as possible. The more you reveal and share about yourself, the better your communication and your relationships are going to be, and the more you can learn. So there's a lot, it's scary to divulge things that maybe feel private to you, just about how you are and what you care about, but the more you do that, the better your connections are gonna get. Okay, so let's talk about the unknown for a minute. I don't really get this. I'm like, how can there be something about me that I don't know and no one else knows? It's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest, like, does it really, no one hears it, does it exist? I don't know. But the one to really focus on, though, is the blind spots. So the blind spots is stuff about you that's obvious to everyone else that you don't know, right? And this is the really scary one. So the more you can open the lid to that box and look in it and get the things that are over there into the open self and out into the open and expand that green box, the better everything is going to be for you. And the more you're going to be able to connect with people in an authentic way.
I don't know. I'm glad I don't have any blind spots.
So now we're going to talk about presence, which is really the cornerstone of self-management. So there's physically being in the room, like we're all here, but we have various degrees of sort of actual focus and mental presence that we're bringing. So mindful presence is being aware and attuned to where you are and what's happening with your feelings and the feelings of everyone around you. So when we think about mindfulness, everyone thinks meditation. So meditation is amazing. And I highly recommend that everyone do it. But the fact is, meditation is not the only tool that you have in your toolbox to get present. Let's just do a quick exercise. It's called feet on the floor. Just notice that both of your feet are fully connecting through your shoes to the floor. If you're sitting in a chair, feel where the chair is coming into contact with your body. Just close your eyes for a minute and listen to what you hear in the background. Imagine that there's a string that's pulling straight from the top of your head all the way through to the ceiling above you. And as you do that, you'll notice that you'll sit up a little bit straighter and that you'll open up your chest a little bit so you're able to breathe a little bit more. And then just open your eyes and really look at everything that's around you. What color are the walls? Who are you sitting next to? How are you feeling right now? What's going on? Take a deep breath, and then you're back in the room. So I don't know about you, but I just did that myself, and I feel different now, and I feel like now I'm gonna talk slower, and I'm gonna be able to make more eye contact with you, and it took 30 seconds. So if you do that before you start a meeting, especially if it's a meeting that's kind of got a lot of tension and charge, like you're just gonna have a much better meeting. There's also a great way to do this with a group. It's called red, yellow, green. And it's a really great way to start a team meeting. You just go around the room and everyone checks in whether they're feeling red, yellow, or green. So green means I'm in the flow. I'm calm, I'm rested, there's nothing bothering me. I'm fully ready to be present and be creative. It's great if everyone's in green. It's usually not the case. Yellow means there might be some anxiety fluttering around the edges. Something's a little off, not quite right. Either I'm distracted about something that's happening at home or like I'm bothered by something at work. And so, I might not be 100% here, but I'm 75% here. And then there's red. So if someone checks in red, it means there is something that is really upsetting me and I am in a full emotional high alert state right now, right? It might be a really big problem at home. It might be something at work. And by the way, you don't have to say, if you're in the red, you don't have to tell people why you're in the red. It might be something that you don't feel comfortable sharing, which is completely fine. But it is really important that your team knows that you're red. Because if you're red, you got to go deal with that. You can't do whatever this meeting is right now. It's just not going to go well. So if you do red, yellow, green, and one of your teammates checks in red, ask them what they need right now. Ask them if they need to leave, ask them if they need to have a conversation about it. So take care of your people first. If you have someone in red, or if you're the one in red, deal with that, and whatever it was that you were going to discuss in the meeting can wait. So there's a bunch of benefits you're going to get if you're fully present. The first one is really simple, just awareness. You're going to notice more of what's happening in the room, including people's body language, and you're going to be able to hear more of what's being said. So you're just going to pick up more of what's going on. That goes along with higher level listening. So you're going to be able to deeply listen and have empathy for the people around you if you're present, which you cannot do if you're distracted or you're checking your phone or you're kind of in and out of the room, right? And it means you're going to get the content. We have so much trouble with communication. It's amazing how often you'll leave a meeting and one person heard one thing and the other person heard something else. And if you're fully present, you reduce the chances of that happening. The third thing is your creative brain is going to be fired up. So you're going to be able to actually engage with whatever is the problem or the thing you're discussing. And by the way, if there's no problem or meaty topic of discussion, and it's just a meeting to report on stuff, you shouldn't be having the meeting. A good meeting is a meeting where there's some creative problem solving that needs to happen. Finally, you're going to have a positive impact on the people around you. Do you know those people that when you meet them and they shake your hand, they make eye contact, and they make you feel like you are the most important person in the world, and you have that jolt of energy that comes into you, those incredibly special people? If you practice presence, you will become one of those people, and you will have that impact on everyone around you, and there is just no greater gift than being that person for someone else. One of the biggest mistakes we make in life is living in the future, so worrying about things that haven't happened yet. So in the startup world, we worry about whether customers are going to like our product, or if we're going to run out of money in 6 months, or what if our competitor gets there first, or some other thing that we have no control of and isn't actually on the table today. The other thing we like to do is live in the past. So, having regret that we didn't make a different move yesterday, or resentment against someone else who didn't do something that they were supposed to do for us that has now created a problem, none of which is on the table today. So the team you have in the room with you today, the product you have today, the angel investor who just committed to being the first person to write you a check to get your product out the door, those are the things that are on the table today. And being present, will help you engage with today's problems using the best faculties you have today. being present so you can bring your whole self into the room to lead is just going to be key to handling whatever comes your way.
Okay. That's as far as I'm going today with this. I think what she is talking about really goes beyond business, obviously. It goes beyond your particular situation at any given moment. And my friend that I mentioned at the beginning here, who has passed away, his big thing was being present. That in particular used to drive him crazy were people who would be looking at their phone during meetings and not clearly not present. And he used to have all these little tricks he'd get to get them. It was really funny to watch. But there's some really good stuff here, and it really does go beyond business. And so I hope that this is helpful. And there's a lot here. There's a lot of books, videos, instruction, etc. And I'm not trying to be denominational in any way as far as these things go, but the ability to actually be present is a wonderful skill. And you find that people who do well in life in general tend to be ones that are present, as opposed to the ones who are distracted or partially participating in something. And I think that every day is not, Torah, full battle, some days are, but hopefully most days aren't. But whatever comes your way, if you approach it with this kind of high self-awareness and understanding, what you're good at, it's really a fundamental thing when you think about hiring, for example, in the future. You want to hire people that hopefully can do stuff better than you can do, right? In whatever arena that might be. It might be operations, it might be in marketing, whatever. But it's impossible to really understand that correctly unless you're really aware of yourself and what you need. And as she said in her video, she has a really hard time being a follower, and I think a lot of you could probably relate. I know I can. But again, depending on your, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, that it all makes a big difference. So, and also what I have found over the years, that participating in things like in the community or church or school or whatever, I view them almost like training grounds for this kind of stuff, where you can be a follower, you can be a leader, you can really kind of figure out what needs to be done in that particular organization as far as you're concerned. So I always encourage that kind of growth and development. I think it helps all of us in many, many ways. And so this whole subject is near and dear to my heart. And I welcome anyone who wants to chat about what we've heard so far or any observations about it.
I have a quick question for the group. When she was going through the self-awareness assessment, so she's like, write down 5 of each, and there were 4 areas. It was strengths, improvement areas, core values. What was the last one? I missed that. Yeah,
there is at the bottom here, the worksheet. So let me just.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole section here. Let me just share my screen real quick.
You remember the part I'm talking about though, where you write down, your.
I would have to go back and look. I can't remember off the top of my head, tell you the truth. But
I can look back at it too. I mean.
Well, this is the worksheet. So I'm at the bottom of member resources under Techstars. So today we had EQ for entrepreneurs. So see where it says take me to the videos? That's where we just were. And so this is the worksheet section, which is right next to the videos. So it has all of the stuff that she talks about. She only has 4 there. All the stuff that she talks about is somewhere here. Parts of self.
Okay, that was the last one, actually, triggers. So yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, all of the stuff that she talks about is here. And since I've now understand that they're not sending this data to Techstars, it just merely creates a PDF for your files when you do this. It's really a wonderful saver of paper and all that kind of stuff. So this is pretty extensive here. I warn you, there is a lot here. I personally think it's one of the most valuable segments of Techstars. You can download the journaling exercise, and there's just a lot here. So that's where you'll get a lot of the work that they have, workshop, or whatever the right way to look at it. So I highly recommend that, as a place to go for that. Does that answer your question, Kat? Is that good? Okay. Anyone else? Donna, what do you think?
I think it's wonderful. I love the part about staying engaged, because our minds just go so easily away, and you just don't get the full potential. You don't even get a fourth of the potential when you're not fully engaged.
Yeah. Well, especially like me, you're already starting half empty, right? So you degrade from 50%, you're really in trouble. This is crazy. That your comment just reminded me of one of my favorite movie scenes, which is in Top Gun, and Iceman is being shot at from all angles, and he's going, Maverick, where are you? And he goes, I'm supersonic. I'll be there in 3 seconds. It's one of the greatest lines of all time. Help is on the way in 3 seconds. So anyway, that's what that reminded me of. How crazy does that sound? So anyone else want to comment?
I found this very, very helpful. I have done a lot of work in the past on like my core values, business values, to help in hiring. I was, told that if you have someone that meets your core values, that will really help them grow with the business. But I also really like the red, yellow, green.
Oh, I know, that's awesome. I use it all the time.
Because it just reminds me, some days if I'm like feeling pissy or ouchy or whatever, I'll be like, I'll just say it out loud. It's like, man, I am just in a really foul mood today. Like, I don't know what it is. And I feel like just saying it out loud to my team or whoever I'm around, it's like, hey, I'm in just like a funk. And so if I come across short, it makes me aware, but then maybe let people know that if I come across harsh, maybe they'll give me a little grace because I'm coming from a funky place.
Yeah.
So I might even try that. Like, it might be kind of fun to do just every morning, check in. Okay.
That's what they do at Techstars. Every beginning of all the Techstars locations, that's what they do, because obviously they're working with thousands of people all around the world, but it is a really important thing. And I think also for you, based my reaction to your comment is, the next thing for you to do is figure out why you feel that way. What is the trigger? What's going on? It may be something you're very aware of, or maybe something you have no idea about. And that's really, to me, the struggle with all of this is, I think everybody has different versions of themselves, right? Their public persona, their private, whatever. And I think to understand why you're doing what you're doing, the self-awareness is really a critical piece to find out. And to understand it, don't beat yourself up, and say, oh, I'm a bad person or whatever. Maybe you are, I don't know, but I don't think that's really the point. The point is to really get a handle on what's going on with you and why you are red, yellow, or green any particular day. I think it's important to know is, well, why is it green? What makes you happy? What makes you in a place where you're green? Maybe what you ought to do is get t-shirts printed up and just wear the t-shirt of the color that day, or a hat or something. I don't know. That would be kind of funny, really, having a yellow day or whatever. So, well, good. I'm glad that you all are seeing the value of this, and we'll do more of it tomorrow as well. So, all right. Well, that's all I got. I am going to try to go to the Flavors of Carolina show if I can figure out how to do that. I hope some of you are going. I think that's the case. So hopefully I'll have a chance to actually meet people in this virtual world. I don't think I've ever met anybody in my class that I know of, except the ones in the very initial class were a lot of them were from Greenville and were students at ECU. So so if any of you are going there, I am going to try to make that afternoon. I guess it's this Monday, March 7th. So, all right. Well, if there's not anything else, we'll call it a day. And thank you all for your attention and for your presence. See you later.